Hello and welcome. I'm Peter, and this is going to be the final part of the Tekken 7 Season 3 review. Well, this is not so much of a review, but what I would like to see with the new changes that are going to be coming up. So, with the release of the trailer, at the end of the trailer, we were all presented with this screen title. And with that, things relating to player stats display, updated UI, as well as expanded practice functionality, and my replays and tips. So that kind of stuff, I'm gonna give my take on what I would like to see. I'm sure there's gonna be a couple of things left out that maybe you wanna see as well. But yeah, I just wanted to give my quick thoughts on it. So first up is going to be player stats display, and I think, one quick thing. I'm not going to be talking about new moves because I think Bandai Namco already has an idea of exactly what it is for new moves that they want to do. And if I wanted to go over all the new moves that I would like to see, then the list, this video would be literally like a 3-hour, 4-hour long video. So I'm not going to really talk about that, but the rest of the items on the agenda, so player stats display, updated UI, expanded functionalities, practice mode, replays, that kind of stuff, I'm going to talk about. Now, moving on, player stats display. I've gone ahead and quickly marked up and did a mock-up of what I would like to see if, for example, we're in player ranked. From this picture, you see that there's a couple of things that's been added. The first thing that I think Bandai Namco can do is show us our win rates. Right underneath our name or next to our name, show us our win rate, what our percentage is with this character in ranked match. Because as you know, ranked match or just playing online in general, you spend a significant portion of the time just staring at this screen. You're just staring at it. And if you're going to give me something to stare at, I might as well have a look at, what my win rate is and be able to take a look at what my opponent's win rate is. So I can kind of gauge for myself, like, oh, am I facing a strong opponent? Am I facing a weak opponent, right? Things of that sort. Second thing that I've gone ahead and added to this, what kind of a connection am I playing? Am I playing a Wi-Fi player? Am I playing somebody who is on landline or, who's playing wired, right? Because a lot of times we wonder if it's just the distance between the two players that's causing the issue, or if somebody is just simply on wireless. Just put an icon on the left-hand side or the right-hand side and just show us, oh, this person's using Wi-Fi. Oh, I'm playing a Wi-Fi player. Okay, this is what I can expect, right? Or I'm playing somebody who's using a wired connection. All right, I know for sure that we're gonna have stable and good connections. The third thing that I would like to see, and if you can see on the bottom, I guess I'm gonna zoom in on this one. On the bottom, it's great that previously, we're shown the little icons on the bottom in ranked games of, how many win streaks we have, or how many win streaks our opponent has, or lose streaks, whichever. But show us which characters they're winning against, or which characters they recently lost against. I think this would be a cool feature, or a cool opportunity to do something else just with this loading screen. Because honestly, I get so bored with the loading screen. Sure, I do things in the loading screen like, okay, I have to remember to watch out for this move when I'm playing against this character, or I need to, watch out for this type of move because they're most likely gonna throw it out. These things of that sort, I already do, but honestly, just, give us a little bit more. Give us something else to look at, something more interesting. Just a thought. Okay, UI update. Now, this one I don't have a whole lot to add to it because I do think that Tekken's UI, for the most part, is pretty solid, actually. But one of the things that kind of bugs me a little bit is for characters with meter, they have the meter all the way at the bottom right hand corner, when in fact the health bars are all the way up here. So if you're looking at the time and the health bar, you can't really see the meter. So you have to go switch from looking up here to down here, up here to down here, up here to down. You get what I'm saying? So take this meter that's all the way at the bottom here and just shoop, move it up all the way to the top, right? Right underneath the health bar. Or you can even put it next to, the person's name or wherever. But just have it within the same vicinity as where you see the, the timer as well as the health bars. I think that just makes a little bit more sense because that's just have it all localized up top. Second thing I would like for them to do with the UI, and maybe this is more of a UX, user experience thing, but how many of you have played on Brimstone and Fire? You know that red stage where everything is red and everything has that red glow to it? Yeah. Personally, I'm not colorblind, but it still bothers me so much that everything is just red. They just put a red giant ass filter on top of it. Have a colorblind option, okay? For those players who are handicapped or who don't have, players who have trouble seeing the color red, please have a feature where this can be turned off. So, one of the great modders out there in the community, Astronomy, he created this colorblind mod for the PC for Brimstone and Fire. And take a look. Oh my god, that looks so much better. It looks so much more visible. You can see clearly now exactly what's like, who's who, where's the arms, where's this and where's that. It's so much easier to just see. So I would love for Bandai Namco to have a colorblind option for the stages or something, and I think that would, ease a lot of the red stage stuff. And this red hue thing, it happens on a lot more than just this stage, right? There's also that other volcano stage, the one where you break on round 3. It's an open field, and there's I think Akuma stage when you first start the game. Everything is just this hue of orangish red. So this doesn't only just pertain to Brimstone and Fire. Expanded practice and functionality. Alright, I think we've all wanted this for a while because currently the practice mode is very lacking in terms of the information that you get. So if, say for instance, I'm playing Brian and I want to, save one of my moves and I'm learning the game, I'm like, oh, what's this move? Oh, it's jet upper. Oh, okay, jet uppercut. Okay, it's forward, back, 2. That's it. And I can test it out. It's like, oh, it's a high move. Well, how quickly does it start up? What is it on block? And if this wasn't a launcher, what is it on hit and what is it on counter hit? These types of information, I would love for them if they just gave us this information, right? Because right now, we have to go to rbnorway.org and, props to them. Thank you, RB Norway, for continuing to provide frame data for us, keeping your website going and updating it as we get new patches and information. Thank you guys. But I would love if Bandai Namco just displayed all that information straight up at the top, right? Just show us, oh, what is the hit level? Oh, it's a high. Oh, okay. What is it on startup? Oh, it's 14 frames on startup. Okay. What is it? Oh, it's a launcher too? Okay, so just show us that information so that when we scroll through this command list, we can see all the different options. And, Tekken is one of the few games, I think, that doesn't have this information readily available. There's a lot of games out there that do. Actually, I don't know if there's a lot of games out there, but I know that NetherRealm Games does do this, and props to them for that. And I really do wish that Tekken would follow along the same suit as that. And even if you don't show, you know, like hit levels and, you know, how much damage this move does, because we can kind of figure that out on our own by practicing it, at least just show us the 4 main frame data things, right? Startup, block, what is it on hit, what is it on counter hit? Easy, simple. I think that would be the main thing that I would love to see in expanded practice features and functionalities. Okay, so the last thing that Bandai Namco had said that they would do is my replays and tips. And this one is a big one that I spent a good half of a day thinking about what to do with. So I think with replays, the game should automatically save your last 10 games. And when you get to the 10th one, it overrides the first one, right? Just save the last 10 games. This is a feature that's, I think NetherRealm Games actually has. Damn, you know what? NetherRealm Games is pretty on point with these types of things. But I know NetherRealm Games saves the last 10 games that you've played, and this is fantastic so that you don't have to, if you're on computer, say for instance, turn on OBS or some sort of recording software, just so that you can record your games and you have an idea of, oh, I can go back now and watch it because I turned on this recording software because the game doesn't have this feature, right? Just have that option available. And for PlayStation, you know, you can turn on the record feature where it records the last hour or so, but that's kind of cumbersome too, because it doesn't save it per game. It just saves this giant chunk of, like, just giant 1 hour chunk, and you have to like forward, that's not the right section, forward, oh, this is the right game. Oh wait, no, it's not. It looks like the right game, but no, forward. So just save the last 10 games at least. You can, you know, by all means, you can do more. Maybe like the last 20 games, save it, and then it just keeps overriding itself. But allow us to save the replays. And I think this is where they're going. Now, the interesting part, the tips. Okay, this is where I think you guys are gonna like where I'm going with this. So take a look. So we all know that the game can show us what our highest ranked character is in ranked matches. So aside from that, I would love it if they also showed other characters that we played as well. That's one of the features I would like for them to show, is do a tips or showing us how we do with the rest of the cast of characters that we play, because not everybody only plays one character. Some people play with 2, 3, 4, 5. Knee fucking plays with the whole roster. So show us how well we do with the full range of characters. Now you're probably wondering, okay, Peter, how would you even break that down? Well, I thought about that. I think the main 5 categories in Tekken, if you really just kind of split it apart, would be things like positioning, defense, offense, block punishing, and whiff punishing. Those are the main aspects of Tekken that at least I can think of. Sure, things like block punishing, that would partially go into defense, but have it as a separate option. Whiff punishing, part of that is also in positioning, but break it off as an option. So I think the game can be broken down into these 5 categories, and you can do some sort of a chart based off of, let's say, however many games you play. So let's say you played 100 games. This chart's probably going to be more accurate. If you only played 2 games with a character, this chart's not going to be very accurate at all, because it's only 2 games. The data is not significant enough. Now I'm going to go through each of these aspects, the 5 aspects that I have listed here, but I want to say ahead of time that this is probably going to be extremely hard to program, and I don't know how to necessarily implement it, but I think it might be a step in the right direction, or at least just open up some discussion and thoughts about it. So let's say you've played, 100 games, or let's say I've played 100 or 200 games with Brian, right? And I look at this chart and I'm like, oh, my positioning is below average. What does that mean? And then the game tells you, right? You are more often than not fighting with your back against the wall. It seems that you're giving too much ground to the opponent. Okay, well, if I read this and I, properly interpret it, and it's like, okay, I probably need to, 1, stop backdashing when there is no need to backdash. Or if I am backdashing, I need to make sure that I do some sort of a move that advances me back forward so I don't lose all my ground. Because if you keep backdashing against an opponent, they're just going to keep inching towards you, and then you slowly push yourself into the corner or the wall. So one way I think maybe Bandai Namco can do this is have a sensor in the game or data in the game about how close you are to the wall, and then have a timer based on it, right? If a round is, let's say a round only lasts 20 seconds, and during that 20 seconds, the whole time you had your back against the wall for 15 of those seconds, then they can properly monitor, like, oh, okay, then you're spending most of your time with your back against the wall. Or if you're playing a game where you're behind and you're spending all of the time just playing at range 8 or 6 or something, then the game could be like, well, you're not properly spacing your opponent out, you're leaving too much distance between yourself and the opponent. So I think that's maybe one direction to go with that. Next one up is offense. Again, if I play 100 or 200 games with Brian and the game assesses, hey, your offense is average. Well, what exactly is average about it? And then I read the description or the tips that they give, and it says you press your advantage when you are plus on frames, but rarely mix up your options. You're somewhat predictable in your patterns. That's easy enough to read, and I think it's actually pretty easy enough to kind of monitor for the game. For example, if every single time I finish orbital and I go for a dick jab, the game can count that once. Okay, after orbital, he went for dick jab. And if I perpetually do this, I'm sure my opponent's gonna recognize this and at some point low parry me, right? Or low crush me. So the game can be on top of that and record all of this, and when orbital into dick jab does not work and or gets stuffed by something, then it takes it as a strike and it records it. Or for instance, let's say you're always at plus frames, but you're not ever doing anything with your plus frames, right? You're not trying to pressure, you're not trying to mix your opponent up, all you're doing is just backdashing. Then the game can say something in terms of a tip, like when you're on plus frames, you never press the advantage and you never try to open your opponent up. Something along those lines. Or for example, you never use throws, right? Maybe the game will then give you a tip such as your offense is pretty strong, except you never use throws. So something in the game that can monitor how you do your offense, whether it's you're trying to apply offense through your plus frames, or if you're using throws, or if you never use lows, or you only use lows. So I think there's a lot of open ground to this in terms of offense, and just recording what the player does and their patterns. Next up is whiff punishing. This one's probably going to be a slightly harder one to do, but let's say I finish playing and the game says whiff punish average, and I read, you sometimes whiff punish, but only slower attacks from your opponent. You sometimes just watch moves go by and not react. So I would say that's pretty average, not whiff punishing consistently, but sometimes. Pretty average. The way to because there are moves that are super fast that are almost impossible to whiff punish, right? Something like a down forward 1 or a standing 1 or a dig jab. Those types of things are really hard to whiff punish. So maybe the game doesn't count it against you when you don't whiff punish a standing 1 or a dig jab or down forward 1 or maybe down forward 2 by certain characters, right? Those types of things, the game doesn't count it against you when you don't whiff punish. But let's say you are within range of whiff punishing. So let's say you're at range 1 or maybe range 2 and your opponent whiffs something really big, right? Let's say my opponent is Jack, and Jack whiffs debugger at range 1, or he's within range 1 and he whiffs debugger, and I don't punish it. Then the game would take it as a strike and say, oh, you don't whiff punish. And this would continue to gather data over time. And over the course of 100, 200, 300, 400 games, this would become more representative of what you do and don't. Block punishing. This one I think is a very easy one to do. Fairly easy one to do. If we play and the game comes back with block punishing, superb, and it reads, you rarely miss an opportunity to punish your opponent when they throw out something punishable. When you do punish, it is optimal. This is a great way of giving feedback to players on their block punishing. For example, right, if the game just records what move the opponent does, and if we block the move, it's just an easy if-then statement, I think. If I block the move, did I block punish it? No, then have it as a strike. If I blocked a punishable move and I did punish it, then that's a plus. But did I optimally punish it? If it's not optimal, then it'd be kind of like a half point, right? And if I did, it'd be like a full point. So I think this is another great thing that the game can keep track of to give tips on and assess the strength of a player and something that they might need to work on. Last but not least, defense. And this one may be a little bit more tricky to do, but let's just read really quick what I have had, what I came up with, right? If I play a game and it says defense, above average, you recognize most strings in the game and block them quite well. Your reaction to slow lows is good. What is holding you back is your inability to consistently throw break. So you can see here that there's many aspects to defense. Recognizing strings. Are you blocking the lows that are coming in strings, right? Things like junkyard kick, right? Junkyard kick only has really two options. Law has back 2-1 or back 2-3. That's string, right? Back 2-1, you duck and then launch it. Back 2-3, you low parry it, or you low block it, whichever. So this is the kind of thing, or one thing that you can keep track of for defense. The second thing, right, is throw breaking. When an opponent throws you, do you throw break? Do you even press a button? Like, I understand if you get thrown and you got the wrong break. At least you tried to break it. That's step number one. You tried to break the throw when it came out. And then the next step is, are you correctly pressing the right button that corresponds, or are you just guessing, right? I think this is great for the game to try to keep track of as well. And the last thing is perhaps slow lows, right? Snake edge type of moves, or like, yeah, actually I think the main thing would be snake edge type of lows, or maybe even unblockables too, if you want to include that category. So I think these parts of defense are things that the game can keep track of and would be great as feedback to the player while they're playing their games, and the computer is just recognizing what's being done and recording all of that, compiling it, and over the course of several hundred games or even 50 games or so, spit back out a report to the player, giving them a notification of what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, or if they're just average on everything. Alright everybody, thank you for tuning in to this video. I hope this is at least somewhat insightful to give my thoughts and opinions on what I would like to see going forward. I know for sure that we're probably not going to get the tips and information that I would like to see, the ones that I just showed you with the 5 different aspects of the game and the chart, but I just hope that something along those lines might be applied with Bandai Namco's Season 3 update. Well, I'm Peter, that's all for now, and I'm signing out. Thanks so much, take care.